Everybody, this morning I am downtown Carmel, Indiana, and I'm sitting here on Main Street. You can kind of see here behind me, I'm just sitting on a bench and looking back that way, more of Main Street, which is 131st Street. And I mean, this is the Arts and Design District, just kind of getting into the heart of it. And there's no doubt it's pretty awesome. So when a lot of people visit this area, they have their heart dead set on this particular area. And in this video, I want to talk about, of course, this area some and Carmel some, but just want to try to open up the possibility of some other places too, because this is pretty incredible, but is not the end all be all for everybody. So we'll chat about that a little bit. Stay tuned. Hey everybody, I'm Jason Compton with the Living in Indianapolis channel and team. If you have questions about Carmel, any place in the Indy Metro, then make sure you reach out any way that you know how. We'll always have your back with those questions, and we'll absolutely have your back when it comes time for you to make your move either to Carmel or some of the other cities and towns that surround Indianapolis and Carmel. So let's talk about some of those now, because there are a lot of opportunities I think that people are missing around Indianapolis. And we've got some loud trucks here on Main Street coming through here, supplying, actually there's a big semi in front of me, from Cisco, not the rapper, the company, supplying some food to a lot of these restaurants out here. Like this one right here next to me, some people out eating lunch. Awesome spot. This is Muldoon's. Been there a bunch of different times, so I like that spot. You come in here and man, you just get wiped out at how nice this part of Carmel is. But most of the people that I'm seeing around here, it's during the week, around that lunchtime, close to it, still late morning. But most of these people don't live here. They may live in Carmel, but they don't live in this particular part of Carmel, because this particular part of Carmel is very expensive. And if you get something that's less expensive, let's say $500,000 or less, something like that, then you're probably looking at a condo or townhome of some kind. And there won't be a luxury condo or townhome, because those can get way up there. I mean, you can get $900,000, $1 million. You can even get multi-million. Those are more rare. You don't have as many around, but it can happen. And that's because of this location. So this, while it's a really big downtown area, really big for a city of 100,000 people, it's still fairly limited as to where you can live. And from there, people will usually say, well, I just want to be in Carmel for sure. And that is fine, because there's a lot of stuff that make it a super great place to live, and got lots of videos about why that is. It's very safe, schools are awesome, it's unbelievably clean, infrastructure is really, really great. And you got the Monon Trail that goes right through here, which is what I'm coming up on right now. And I'm gonna just make sure nobody's coming on their bike. Go down the Monon Trail here just a little bit. And I mean, I can certainly see why people would want to live here. And people have asked me, do you live in Carmel? And you don't. Well, why don't you live in Carmel? Well, it doesn't work for us, the location. If we lived in Carmel, for me it would be fine, but for my wife, she'd have to drive a lot more than she already does. And we don't want that for our family. So we would absolutely live in Carmel, but we live in a different location that works a little bit better. And so that is what usually, if people are open to it, will encourage people to think about. If you're more geographically open to living in other areas around Carmel or around Indianapolis, you're gonna have more opportunities. For one, Carmel is certainly more expensive, so your money in Carmel is not gonna go as far as it does even in nearby Fishers, and Fishers is a really great place to live. It's not gonna go as far as it does in Westfield, and then in Indianapolis, it depends on where it is in Indianapolis, it's not gonna go as far there, or I'm sorry, it's gonna go further there and less a distance here in Carmel. But if you swing around to the south side, you go to Greenwood. Now that's a lot further from Carmel, and if you live in Greenwood, you're not gonna come to Carmel really all that often. You're just not gonna be able to get past that distance. You have to really want to get up here to go to a restaurant or some kind of show, maybe at the Palladium or something, which you could do, but it's just much, much further. So if you want to be in Carmel, but you can't quite get in there, or you're open to considering just being close to Carmel, there are other places. So again, there is Fishers, which is right nearby. And then you've also got Zionsville right nearby. Although Zionsville, I'm gonna go back here and stand in this shade. It's a hot day, and I am starting to break out into a sweat here, just walking on the Monon out in the sun. Zionsville is as expensive as Carmel, and it's smaller, but still, geographically, more options now because you're considering it. If you go a little further north to Westfield, Westfield is not far from here at all. I'm at 131st Street, where I just walked off of, and I'll start walking back towards here in just a second. Actually, do that right now before anybody runs me over. I can see a lot of people coming down the Monon right now. 146th Street is generally the border for Westfield. So at 131st, I'm not that far. If I were on my bike shooting north here on the Monon, it's only gonna take a couple of minutes to get there. Driving, it's not that bad either. Now, sometimes that border fluctuates a little bit, but generally we think about 146th Street. Not that far. So if you lived in Westfield, you're not that far from Carmel. If you live in Noblesville, this is the misconception I hear about Noblesville a lot, is that we don't want to be that far out there. Well, Noblesville is connected to Fishers and Westfield and really shares a corner with Carmel. You could actually be in Noblesville with a Noblesville address and be closer to all of this than a person living really far west in Carmel or southwest in Carmel with a Carmel address. Now, it's not by a big difference, but you could get it out on the GPS and see that, hey, this Noblesville address is actually closer to all of this, the Arts and Design District, or Midtown when you're going back to the south. It's closer to all of this, which is pretty amazing to think about. Now, if you get way out northeast Noblesville, you are certainly further. You can't get over the mileage, and it's gonna take a little bit more time. But that's what I hear about Noblesville an awful lot, which is unfortunate because Noblesville is a fantastic place to live, and it has a tremendous amount of variety that can fit a lot of different wants for a lot of different people. But you know, it gets further out there if you have to work in downtown Indianapolis, and then that's a different conversation. But if you're looking across North Side and you want to just be near a lot of what I'm standing in here right now, then you just have more options than Carmel itself. And you need to make sure that you remember that, and talking about that and showing people that has certainly helped. And at least realize that there are more opportunities out there geographically. So if you are open to a conversation about that, or if you are open to other areas outside of Carmel, then we can chat about it, and I'm happy to get into some of those details. However, if you're not, you're dead set on Carmel, you can understand that too. But if you're looking in Carmel and it's for one particular reason, like the schools, you can limit yourself by looking at just Carmel addresses, because there are places around Carmel with an Indianapolis address or a Westfield address that actually are in Carmel schools. It can get a little bit confusing with that. So the point is, you can get a little bit limited looking at Carmel only. So being open geographically to some other places, geographically to other places, can potentially in the future just give you more options. So again, if you have questions about anything related to Carmel, your options around Carmel, or anything around Carmel, then make sure you reach out any way that you know how, and we'll catch you in the next one.